Hello everyone, welcome to this video session. This is going to be a small video to learn how to use PHP, HTML, CSS to collect data from the interface. So we are going to be collecting data from a form that I've already built using HTML. The form is going to look like this on the browser. So we are going to be collecting some information from this form and submit. So for now, let's go to the important part. After creating the form, we have to action the form to where we want this form to send data after the user submits. So I want it to action. I'm actioning this form save.php. You can name it absolutely anything. You can name it receive. You can name it receive.php. You can name it whatever.php. But now it has to be actioned save.php because I want to create a file named saved.php. With the method I'm about to use is post. I want this form to be submitted through post method because post method is the safest method. You can comment for reasons about that in the comments below. So let's go to the important part right away. After actioning our PHP file, after actioning it save.php, we now have to do the second most important part, which is to name each input field with the name that we are going to use to call whatever data that will be put in it in our PHP script. So for the first input type text, we have named it name. You can name it absolutely anything you want. You can name it first name, you can name it last name, you can name it John, you can name it Peter, you can name it absolutely anything. All is that you must remember it when using the save.php file in order to call it in. So for the other ones, we named email as email, password as password, number as phone, and then our submit. So now, if it is going to be submitted, it has to go to save.php through the method post. So I have already created our save.php file, though it's empty now. We are going to start receiving this data. First of all, we launch our PHP syntax and our closing PHP syntax. This is done so that you don't need to forget to close it. And also, it also helps you to know that whatever you're doing within this area is in PHP. Everything here must be in PHP format. So now we want to start receiving our data. To receive data, we must assign variables to each. Assign variables like, let me say name. You can assign a variable and name it absolutely anything you want. But for now, let's use basic words like name. And then to call it in, we have to do dollar underscore in uppercase post. And the name we gave it in the HTML form is also name. This is very important because if that HTML form was named something else, then in this particular area, we will be naming that thing else. So for now, we do that and we always close each line after we are done with. So we go to the other data we want to be receiving. We also have to receive, was it email? Oh, we also have to receive email, which will be equal to the same way of receiver dollar underscore post. And then we identify the name we gave it in the HTML form, which is email. We always close. And for the other one, we had password. We're going to be receiving it the same way. The exact name we gave it there is the exact name we're gonna give it in that box. So we also had phone number. So we're going to receive phone number. Let's change a variable name for once. Let's see that it really works. Let's say telephone. Let's call it the variable let's assign a variable telephone. And in this variable, we choose to assign whatever we'll be receiving from our HTML form where we named it phone. Let's take a look at that. Let's not get confused. We named it phone. We want to receive this now. We are now receiving this. We are now receiving the number. So we named it phone. This is the phone we are calling right here. For this, it's just a variable. You can name it absolutely anything, but what we are assigning must be precise, such as that. And we always close, remember. So now, after this, there is one thing we have to do. We have to find a way to connect to our database. Because now, I believe we are receiving every data. Let's just see if we are actually receiving this data. To confirm that, let's echo first name. Let's print the first name. Echo name. Echo name means print on the screen or display on the screen. And here you give what you want to display on the screen. It is everything a string, or if it's an integer, you don't need to put the quotes. So let's test this and see if it works. Let's save our file, go back to our browser and refresh. We have that. We submit. Oh yes, this must be done very well. So we have to ensure it is something email. So we check and we have our first name. We have the name Brandon Elvin as required. So we know that our PHP script is receiving quite well. Let's test something else. Let's test telephone. Echo telephone. We are just testing to see if it is actually receiving every data. If we just resubmit this form, such as this, we now have the name and we have the telephone as well. So this means our PHP script is receiving quite well. Now we do the second part, which is now connect to the database. This is not important since we have tested and we are sure. We no longer need this. We always use this shortcut require once to connect to the database. Require once. Connection.php. This file can be named anything you want because it is another file that you are going to create. So it can be named anything you want. It can be connects.php, it can be credentials.php, but let's just use connection.php to use simple words in order to follow clearly. So now we have our connection.php. Why we are using this is because we have created a file that has a credential to log into the database. So I have created this script, this PHP script to connect to the database. This is for when you want to use multiple scripts, so you don't need to take all of this information and be writing it everywhere. So wherever you need this information, such as here, you just say require once and you connect the file.php to get every information that will be here and log it in. So for our host, we're using our local host. User is root. For our local host password is always nothing. So database, I've named the database Danish, which is one of the admin in our WhatsApp group. So Danish will be our database. And now for the first MySQL syntax we're using, we'll assign a variable for connect equals to MySQLite connect host user pass and database. Or if it does not connect, as if the database is not existing or anything is wrong, it dies immediately and gives you a report unable to connect to the database. So now that we have this, let's go back to our save.php and continue. This is all. What I just explained from that script is buried here, in here. So this launches it. So now we have a connection to the database. What do we want to do with our database? We want to query our database, but we cannot query a database that we don't have. So let us go to our admin section. To get there, we'll do localhost php myadmin. It will launch us here. This is where we're gonna create our database. We come here under create database. The database name we gave in our connection.php file, like we choose Danish, we give it name Danish, and we create. It is already created. We now have a database named Danish. So we need a table where we are going to be. We need a table. We can have many tables. We can have tables for users. We can have table for whatever we want to be saving in our database. So for now, let's just create a table for user. This is to determine how many columns you want, depending on the number of information you want to be putting into each into each table. So if 4 is enough, as we need just 4 for now, depending on our PHP script, we are collecting only 1, 2, 3, 4 data. So we need space for 4 data. So number of column 4 is correct. We just click here and it's done. The database table has been created. But now inside that database table, we need to identify the fields where all our things will be coming into in order to identify them individually. So in this field name, let us use it to catch the name our user will post. Here, let us use this to catch the email. Let us use this to save password. Let us use this to save the phone number. So here we can name it absolutely anything as we choose. It just depends on what we want. We can name it absolutely anything. Like here, let me just name it phone. Now, the file type or the type of data that will be coming in. It may be an integer, it may be a string, but it is always best to use varchar in some cases because varchar consists of everything, even some symbols in the keyboard that the user might use. So let us use varchar since it consists of everything to prevent any small errors. This is the length. The length determines how many characters you want to put in each field. So for some people have long names, we use 30 character if we like. We can use as any number of character we want. We can use 40. We can use 40. It is just the maximum of character that will be received, that will be saved. So for password, if we want to use 8 characters, it can be 8 characters, it can be 80. The database does not care. It just means it should be less or up to 80, but not more than 80. For phone number, people like to save it in international format. Let's just use 16 characters. For this, let's not over exaggerate. Let's just use 8. So we have this length and values. We have our type and we have their names. So now I think this table is ready to use. Let's save it. And it is saved. So now we have created our database, we have created our table, and all we have to do now is to go and start using it. We can start using it. This connects exactly to the table, as I told you before, connection.php, where the database is equal to Danish. So the database we have created is also named Danish. So this is corresponding exactly to database Danish. Coming back here, to our save.php, where we are actually going to use this data we are collecting from the form. We now have received this data using this part. We have connected to our database using this part. Now we have to query our database in order to start using the database. Let us use a small Let us name another variable for our SQL statement. SQL. We can name it absolutely anything, but since this is our SQL statement and we are beginners, let's just name it SQL equal to, we now create the first SQL statement. We always put it in quote because it's a string. According to PHP, we put it in quotes. It is always good to use double quote for a start. We now use uppercase to differentiate our SQL statement from other things. So our statement, we want to insert this into, we close the cape lock. We want to insert this into the table users. So insert into user. Was it user or users? Did I put S? No, it's user, so we're fine. Insert into user. What do you want to insert? When you want to insert into user, you must identify the fields. These fields we have created. This field, name, email, password, phone. These are the fields we recently created. So we are now identifying this field here. Name, email, password, and phone. These are the fields we created in our database. But now that we have identified the field where we want this information to go into, we have to give the value that will be going. Always use uppercase. For the values, now space is not necessary. You can use it if you really want. And now that we have been starting with uppercase, now that we started with double quotes, within this tag we cannot add another double quote, else it will run from here and end where we have that second double quote. So let's use single quotes inside the double quotes. We are now receiving values. We are now identifying the values. Their values are depending based on the values we receive here. So these identify the values that will be coming in from the HTML form. The name and the variables we have given here is what we call into the values. So we have $name, which means whatever will come from here, whatever will come from here, whatever will be posted in here, receive it and save it. We give a comma and we go again. For email, $email means whatever will be coming from the email, save it there. We go again, password, and for the last one, we have telephone. So now we have identified the values we want to be saving into our database. But how will we know if this is correct? How do we know if we already if we have a successful connection? So first of all, I have to assign a variable named result in order to test the connection if it will work. Result. Yes. You can test for result. You can test for results. You can name this absolutely anything. You can name it res. You can name it anything. It's assigning a variable. So let's just get this query done thing that I created already to make sure things go short. Just copy this line and paste it here. So result is equals to MySQL query connect and SQL. This connection that you see here is a variable that has been defined in this required ones. If you look again, this con is what we are asking for here. Because the connection is for the database, And this SQL is what we want to do with the database. So this SQL is this SQL here. So what we want to test is if the database and the SQL statement have worked correctly. So how do we know if it does work correctly? We use our logical operation if to say if uh, our results, or let's put it in a, if results work, if results work, that is this, it should do this. It should tell us successful update, or successful, or let's just say echo means display on screen. So if result work, it should echo saved success. Save success. That will be enough for now. We always remember to close. But what if it does not work and we want to know if it does not work? We now ask ourselves this. Else, save did not work. Oh, sorry, I had to echo it because echo means display on screen. Saving did not work. It can be anything you want. It is just to tell you what's going on. So let's save this and test. We come back to our HTML. Let's just add a password there and we submit. Now you have an error. Undefined variable con in c save.php online 11. Okay. MySQL iPad 1 to be null given in c PHP line 11. So we have an error and PHP is telling us where that error is, PHP on line 11. So we now go to save.php, which is this line 11. Results is equals to MySQL icon SQL. So now, why is there a problem? We have to check into our connection.php. MySQL connect host database. Unable to connect to the database. Okay, so this con here is available. Let me pause this and find the error and then come back to you. Okay, let's continue. We had a small problem there with our connection file. Our connection was unidentified for a moment, so I have come here and I added, I've changed it into connect. So I have also come to our save script and identify it here as connect and also here as connect. So now I believe it should be working correctly. Let's go back to our browser and try to input a form, input some data and see what happens. Let's first of all save this, go to our HTML form. We have our name and something like that. Let's just put password for about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have our phone number and we save. Save successful. And let's try again to see if another one works. I've gone a little too far there. Let's go back into localhost php1/. us exactly into the index page. Let's try saving another one. Let's save Danish Mohammed, or I don't know his second name, so let's save Danish. Let's give him email Danish something, Danish at whatever dot whatever. So we have password. Let's just say red Reti, anything, password, a phone number. Let's give him 123456789 So we save and tells us save successful. So let's see if actually it saved successfully. Let's browse it. Now come to our database Danish in our table user, and we're browsing to see. And now we can look into it. We have name, Vando Nevin, that's my name when I saved the first one. That's my email, that's my supposing password, that's my supposing phone number. And this is the second one, Danish. That's Danish password, and whatever. So it is actually working correctly. We are now actually collecting data from our user interface and saving it into our database. Let's try another name to be sure. Let's say Vicky Vaca. And let's give our email v at var.com. Whatever email we can give, let's give our password of Quetti, a phone number 0 and that's Vicky Vaca's phone number. Let's submit Vicky. Success. Okay, let's go into our database and see if actually, let's refresh it. And in our database, we have Vicky Vaca. We have her email, we have her password, and we have her phone number. So that's all for today, guys. If you like this video, you can click like, share it, and also if you have any question, you can ask me with the comments below. See you next time when I'm posting how to start a session and how to track user and what they are doing in your site and everything. So I'll also teach you how to pull out data from the database and display on screen on the next video. See you.